Time is just gone 6 minutes past 10 as we end of this morning's broadcast, taking a look at the calls to the South African president to stop all offshore gas and oil and gas projects in the ocean. We are talking about seismic testing that has been approved off the coast of Plettenberg Bay and all the way to Port Elizabeth. We joined on the line by Liz McDaid, strategic lead at the Green Connection. Liz, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning to you and to all your listeners.
Yes, this whole question surrounding seismic testing off the coast of Platte and all the way to PE. Now, we are led to believe that this starts in January and there are major concerns. And this is the reason why this call has gone to the South African president to stop all offshore oil and gas projects.
Yeah, so maybe I can just start with saying that I mean what we are seeing is it's not very transparent, but there are applications from oil companies, international companies like Total and Shell, all the way around our coast from Port Nolloth, Wonderklip, Cape Town, um, Mossel Bay, and then up to Gqeberha, all to look at some form of exploiting oil and gas. And the way the process starts is they first want to do these seismic surveys, which is putting very loud, really loud blasts of sound down through the water to the bottom of the ocean to see whether they can detect any oil and gas down there. And then when they've done that, they come along and drill holes on those spots to see if their seismic surveys were correct. And then they come back and they want to put up oil rigs and extract the oil and gas, which obviously runs the risk of oil spills as well as contributing to climate change. But what we have to remember is that many people depend on the coast for their livelihoods. Tourism in places like Plettenberg Bay, but also there are a number of fishing groups there. So these are people whose whole livelihoods for generations have depended on the ocean, and now we have these foreign companies coming along and are to tell us all of those depend on the coast. So it's for us. We believe that this is not in the public interest, and therefore we are calling on the to actually stop continuing with fossil fuels. It's very difficult for us to see how the president and the government can go to the climate change talks, which are happening in Dubai right now, and say that South Africa is committed to engaging climate change and responding, and at the same time, we want to drill out the ocean, which will and blast the ocean, which will impact on people's livelihoods and make our climate change things worse. And of course, we know why climate change is so important. We know experience. We've seen the floods, the damage that happens, the droughts we had in Cape Town, the droughts that are happening in the Eastern Cape as well. So it's not like this is something in the future, and how many people actually benefited from all those droughts and floods? How many people suffered? They compensated for that suffering, and so this is why we are saying the president must now listen to the people and work in the public interest and stop this in terms of our oceans.
Well, that's interesting. You speak about COP28, and just this morning, I spoke briefly about COP28, and we learned about mega. We're talking about huge oil deals that will be signed by the UAE and other oil companies
Mm, mm,
across the world. And it's talking about, they say there's nothing wrong in talking about business on the sidelines of a summit like COP28, which is supposed to obviously look at issues of climate change and also at the same time looking at the environment. But you speak about the fishing community, about people's livelihoods as well, but also in terms of marine life and
mm.
these seismic testing in terms of these blasts. I mean, how that actually impacts on marine life, because this is blasts that, I believe are heard for thousands of kilometers.
Yeah, so they drag this array of um, devices that can extract, and they drag it through the ocean, so for hundreds of kilometers. But but also remember there's the ocean currents. We're thinking about the marine. You know, we
Liz, if you could just move around slightly, please. We are losing you a bit.
hear me? Hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Continue. Continue.
Okay, that's better. Uh, so in South Africa, we've committed to conserve our turtle species because there's two turtle species that we have that are endangered and could go extinct if we don't do something about it. Now, on the KZN beaches, certain time of the year, like sort of around now and I think into January, um, those turtles hatch. You've seen the movies of them going down the beach, and these tiny little turtles, and they get into the current, and they are swept down the Gullis current, and that seismic survey of the coast there is going to be blasting potentially as they come through. Now they don't have they can't escape because they're in the current. And so that will have an impact. They will potentially be damaged. They could die because if their hearing is lost, their balance is upset. You know, and this is the kind of thing that there's no mitigation proposed. So we are saying we should never be doing this. We are already having such a huge impact on the planet that as humans, and what we need to be doing is repairing the damage, not causing more damage.
Well, certainly, Liz, and I see, yeah, previously we know what had taken place at the Wild Coast, where the court case went against Shell, and seismic testing was stopped off the Wild Coast. And yeah, we've got now approval at Platt and heading all the way to PE. Now, I believe that there is an appeal. And the Platt Environment Forum is writing a formal appeal, but also you require the support of people to sign petitions and to register their concerns with the seismic testing, but also at the same time this calling to the South African government to stop all these projects, these offshore oil and gas projects.
So one of the things that we are helping as the Green Connection is we are helping people to put in appeals, and the Plettenberg Environment Forum as they're a very active group, and they have put up an appeal template. Basically, what it's a form that you can fill in. If you don't want to fill in the form, you can just send an email. I will forward those details to you because I don't have them right here, but you just send a letter and you explain that why you're objecting, and you give your contact details, and that means that you are on the database. So they made the decision to go ahead. Now it's an appeal period, and everyone, you have until the 13th of December in which to send in your views on whether you think this should go ahead or not, and those will be counted in terms of the Minister Creasy, who then has to make a decision whether to say continue or not. And then you can also go to the Green Connection website, see a link to the petition, and sign to say we don't want any of this. Because every time there's a new application, then we have to do the same thing. And sometimes they just ignore us, and we have to go to court. Like, but by being active and by actually doing something and making your voice heard, you can actually make a difference. And that difference is not just about you, it's not just about the ocean, but it's also about all of those whose livelihoods and food security depend. For all of us who have to deal with climate change, we need to now stand up and speak out.
Well, thank you for that, Liz. As you mentioned, the Green Connection website, people can go on, and I see I've got that email address in terms of the appeal. It's info at platenvironmentalforum.co.za. Plet is PLETT, and it's environmentalforum.co.za, so people can send through that email to get the information with regard to the formal appeal. But Les, thank you very much for that and for your time with us this morning. We wish you all the best, and please take care.
Thank you so much.
Les McDaid, strategic lead at the Green Connection. And with that, we reach the end of this morning's edition of News and Views. Once again, it's been an absolute pleasure being in the company of our listeners, our viewers on the various platforms of Salam Media this morning. And we'll be back with you once again tomorrow, right here on Salam Media. For now, from myself and the team, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.